Okay, good good morning, everyone. Welcome to my page. My name is Ogan Tamnopubo Jonas. I'm here to discuss about compressors. Now, a compressor is simply a mechanical device that increases the pressure of a gas by reducing its volume. Now, they are widely used in industries, power plants, HVAC systems, and even household appliances. Um, of course, the basic principle is that a compressor works on the principle of gas compression. Now, when a gas is forced into a smaller volume, its pressure, increases as obeying the Boyle's law of gas. Um, Power is supplied from an external source: electric motor, diesel engine, steam turbine, or gas turbine. So these are the primary sources of the power for a compressor. Um, of course, there are different types of compressors. We have one of them to be the positive displacement compressor. In this situation, what happens is that the gas is being trapped and its volume is being reduced mechanically. Now, under this positive displacement compressors, we have the reciprocating compressor type, which uses piston cylinder arrangement. Normally this is actually used when the pressure is high. Mhm. At high pressure and a low flow of the gas, we use this type of compressors, which is a reciprocating compressor. They will also have the rotary compressor. Uh, in this situation, when there is a squeezing of the gas is being squeezed as it is trapped in a given enclosure. There's a rotating element that causes that trapping and squeezing of the gas. So, example, we have the screw type, we have the vane type, as well as the loop type. So these are what we refer to as the type of positive displacement compressors. So remember, for every positive displacement compressors, we have one, either the reciprocating type, or two, we have the rotary type. Now, we also have another type of compressor known as the dynamic compressors. You know, Under this, we have the centrifugal and the axial type. Um, Now, in these two cases, we are looking at the mode of transfer of the gas. When you talk about dynamic compressors, we are actually looking at the kind of compressor that utilizes velocity, to move the fluid from one point to another, by converting pressure of the gas. So we utilize the dynamic compressor. So under this, we have the centrifugal. Um, this centrifugal compressor usually have impellers. There's what we call impeller. What the impeller does is to, it rotates. As it rotates, it has a way of conveying the fluid, otherwise the gas from one point to another, mm, using centrifugal, force. That's why it's called a centrifugal compressor, because it utilizes the principle of centrifugal movement to move gas from one point to another. So, uh, when you go to power plants and gas transmission systems, you're going to see such kind of compressor. Then the other one is the axial compressors. The gas has to flow through an axis. That is how come the name, the axial compressor. So the gas need to move through an axis. You know, in this particular compressor, there are several blades, there are multiple blades. That utilizes this movement of the gas from one point to another point in axial form. Okay, if you go to jet engines, you're going to find such kind of compressors. Um, Likewise, large gas turbines, you're going to also find them there too. So the key point here now is this: uh, we are trying to see how we can be able to apply all these compressors in the industry. You know, Maybe it might be, if you go to the by application, if you go to the refineries, you're going to find compressors. If you go to petrochemicals, you're going to find compressors. If you go to chemical plants, you're going to also find compressors, because compressors are very, very necessary, because they are the one of the major components that transmits fluid from one point to another point. The fluid may be gases, it may be liquids. So we're trying to see how we can be able to move liquids or gases from one point to another, a way of delivery. So what do we need? We need a compressor. So the compressor can be able to force or pressurize this gas or this liquid to move from one point to another point. That's the essence of the compressor. It's a deliverer. It delivers fluid from one point to another point. So when you go to petrochemicals, refineries, and chemical plants, you're going to find compressors. Now, depending on the nature of the fluid you want to, move from one point to another point, maybe it is highly viscous, or it is less dense, or it is dense. So all these are properties that determines the type of compressor to be utilized. And two, what kind of pressure do you want to deliver from one point to another point? What is the level of the pressure you want to deliver the fluid from the point of generation down to the point of delivery? Also, when you go to power generation plants, that's just when we say power generation plant, talking about gas turbines, you're going to find them there also. So gas turbine utilizes such components, very, very, very essential components, if I may say. Even the HVAC, which is air conditioning and refrigeration systems, you're going to find compressors, because the compressor is, if you check the within the casing, within the confines of the AC, you're going to find a kind of a black uh, pot-like object, especially the fridge. It's much more visible in the refrigerators. You What it does is it moves the refrigerant. It helps to move the refrigerant, increasing the pressure of the refrigerant for it to move from one point to another point through the ducts behind the refrigerator. So that's where you find compressor. So that's what it does to pressurize the fluid from one point to another point. Now utilizing pressure, well, pressure difference. Okay, so you go to oil and gas also, you're going to find the compressors often used. Automotives, otherwise automobiles, cars, you see compressors also, you just like the turbochargers and the superchargers, you find them in cars. So that is the principle that those turbochargers and the superchargers uses or utilizes is a compressor. Okay, so that is what it is. So when it comes to maintenance, majorly what the compressor needs is lubrication, lubrication of the parts that moves relative to another. Also, you must ensure that there is a cooling procedures of the system. Well, compressor is always working. So since it's working, there's always a generation of what? Thermal energy. So this thermal energy can cause distortion or cracking, or also can cause fractures along the lines of the compressor. So you need to cool down the system so that the compressor can work for a long period of time without being damaged. And we'll talk about seals and valves. So you ensure that the valves are well in place, and also the seals. There's a spacing between the different parts. For example, there's a spacing between the impeller and the internal casing. Otherwise, the volutes of the compressor. So you must make sure that that space is being maintained, Checking the gauge, you measure to see if there's any changes due to maybe deformation. So you have to see how you can be able to correct it. That's where it comes causing maintenance. Okay, then another one is vibration. During workings of this compressor, there's bound to be vibration, and we all know what vibration causes. Vibration is a factor that is disastrous to machines or moving parts or rotating parts. So whenever there is rotating parts, or when there are always rotating parts, there is always bound to be vibration. So these vibrations need to be considered or reduced to certain threshold so that you not go beyond. When you go beyond, they begin to cause certain effects on the system. So that is what it is. Okay, so with all this, I believe we now know what a compressor is. Let's say in my next video, I'm going to see how I can be able to show us the different compressors. We look at the parts, the functionality of the parts, how we can be able to carry out maintenance of these parts, the essence of the maintenance of these parts, and likewise certain adjustments that will be required of us, as we go on. I guess this video has been a helpful one to you. Expect more to come. Thank you very much. See you once again. Bye.